This could be
The legendary
game.
20k gold lead, we haven't seen it. I've been looking for it. I've been looking for it. I haven't found it yet though.
You go anywhere near the
The 20k gold diff has been somewhat of a wide wave for Caedrel, but do 20k gold leads actually exist? And if they do, how do they happen? And if they happen, how are the odds of Caedrel ever witnessing one? In this video we will figure exactly that out. The first question is pretty easily answered looking at the data. Of course 20k gold diffs exist, they happen in all my promo games for the enemy team. But they also occur in professional league games. They're just exceptionally rare there. In 2022 LCS Summer Semi-Finals, EG faced off against 100 Thieves. Game 1 was a convincing win by EG. Game 2 is similarly one-sided for 100 Thieves. But Game 3? Well, let's have a look. In the top lane, Impact is on GP versus Ornn, essentially a free lane to farm up, clearly EG favored. In the mid lane, Azir should gain a decent CS lead in the range versus melee matchup, so this should be 100 Thieves favored. In bot lane is Lucian Nami, so EG favored. Jungle should be fine for both, we'll call that even. Actually, who cares about jungle, those guys get a hard on for a 4 CS lead, so EG has the advantage in 2 of 3 lanes in the early game, but 100 Thieves will outscale if they're allowed to. Let's see how this plays out. First action, Inspired level 3 ganks mid gets Azir flash, giving Jojupun on Sylas some safety and also forcing Azir to back without having shoved the wave. At this point Azir is already down in CS even though he should be leading. But it gets worse as level 6 comes around and Sylas with a stolen Emperor's Divide into a poppy gank gets first blood on the flashless Azir. And this is old first blood, it still gives extra gold, yielding Sylas a juicy 400 gold plus a shove that Azir cannot TP to. This is where the snowball starts and it won't stop rolling from here on. A 3-for-0 follows shortly after in the bot lane, where Closer tries for a gank, although Zeri just hard lost the trade. It's a disaster and a 3.5k gold lead before minute 9.
FBI with a flash out, but Inspired is coming in, and FBI is in trouble. Closer is in trouble, and who he, dare I need to even say it, he's in trouble. 3 kills, EG!
After almost 12 minutes, GP has already farmed up a 1.2k advantage over Ornn, throwing with his passive for free and spamming first strike on a helpless tank. And he hasn't even sold his call yet. At 14 minutes the lead has ballooned to almost 6k gold with the Herald collecting all plates and first tower on bot lane, and Lucian Nami sitting on a 25 CS lead and also constantly abusing first strike. EG used this lead to slap 100 Thieves around the map. Top falls soon, EG takes away camps left and right. An objective bounty on the top tower quite surprised me. I would have thought for a 20k opponents can't get anything, but it's still a 9k gold lead at 22 minutes with 2 tier 2s left to cash in for EG and a GP that will continue to steal Ornn's lunch money. A top skirmish, Nash and Hextech so later, GP blows up 3 people with a barrel and that's it. Mid inhib and top tier 2 fall, 18k, Closer dead, Abedage dead, 19k, Someday dead, FBI dead, and there it is, a 20k gold diff in a professional game of League of Legends on stage.
Gonna take us to match point.
Oh, it's JoJo with the alley-oop to Inspired here. What a play, and it is going to be Evil Geniuses on that Nexus, pushing it to game point.
The absolute dominance, 16-1, over a 20,000 gold difference to slam 100 Thieves as they head towards a series victory.
So what do we learn from this? To achieve a 20k gold lead, you want winning lanes, obviously, give away almost no towers or kills, obviously, but also, and that's maybe a bit less obvious, don't get any solo kills. Assists matter in this. They give an extra 60% on top of the kill gold, and EG assisted on every kill. And then, being the only team with first strike abusers and a free farming GP seals the deal. But let's look at another 20k diff game and try to apply what we just learned. This is JDG vs RNG during Spring Split 2023. Feel free to pause and have a guess at which team will accrue a 20k gold lead. Look at the lane matchups, look at the runes. JDG has 3 winning lanes, including Knight on first strike Jace, and an early game jungler on top of it. In fact, Kanavi bullies Wei from the start, taking his blue buff and wolves right in Wei's face. And Wei, trying to compensate, goes for a sneaky gank onto the pushing Jace, handing Knight first blood and an assist in the extended play.
No, Knight just 2v1s them.
Mid lane is over. But there's hope for the other lanes, right? Right? Nah, you know where this is going. The in train just left the station and it's heading straight down a cliff. Bot lane dies 2v2 after a bannable flash by Gala, and the flashless Akali feeds Knight his second kill. Gala runs bot into a horrible wave state and gets pooped on by Ruler. We are 6 minutes into the game and the lead is already 2.7k. Just a few minutes later, after a nice pick on the Akali, Herald gives JEG mid tower including all plates, while Knight and Kanavi mop the jungle floor with Wei, who is now down 25 CS. Knight meanwhile close to doubling the CS of Akali and already has more than double her gold. This lead feeds into his shock blast, which via first strike feeds back into his gold lead, which feeds back into more items, bigger shock blast, more gold. It's just a money glitch at this point. Newsflash, Caitlyn flank, oh and also your mid lane is getting outfarmed by the enemy jungler. RNG even get to kill Knight a few times, but what does that matter if you can just generate a third of that kill gold on a 6-second cooldown? So, in summary, you want smashing lanes. They should be able to accrue at least an 8k gold lead before tier 2 towers even fall. Dying is not so much of a problem, even with a shutdown and even multiple times, as long as it's the same champion as to not give multiple shutdowns. Ideally, you want multiple first strike abusers or another gold generating mechanic on one team with none of that on the other. And you want a clean push to end for a final gold injection that the opponents cannot compensate because the game's over. Oh, and don't forget to share your kills, of course. Now, Gen G is not only on that collage because they're so clean. They also came closest to a 20k this year despite no first strike abuse, and versus HLE at that. Simply absurd CS leads and a perfect objective control. In fact, they would have hit 20k if they didn't ignore 2 tier 3 towers in their final push. But for now, Caedrel is still looking for the 20k gold lead.
Today. 18, 18, had their fill. 18, had their 19, fun, and they will 19, end this game. Come on, surely. Come on. Okay, they're gonna kill Neferi, they're gonna kill Pina one more time, and then they'll take down the Nexus 24-2. The kill score as Gen G's
19.8, really? 19.8. So it wasn't about 20,000, yeah. It wasn't 20,000.
Now that we've established that 20ks do happen and are still possible in 2025, we can ask our second research question. How long until Caedrel gets to witness one of these live? And this is where the math comes in. But wait. It's not going to be difficult. Just stick with me for a second. We simply need 2 ingredients to cook this up. The odds of a 20k happening per region, and Caedrel's viewing behavior for those regions. Caedrel almost exclusively watches LEC, LCK and LPL, so we can focus on the stats of those regions. So far, no 20k has happened in 2025, but we can still calculate how likely a 20k is from the gold diffs that have been recorded so far. This graph shows those gold diffs for the LCK. To the right is that 19.8k game between HLE and Gen G. And because we assume that the gold diff across games is normal-ish distributed, we slap a curve on there that smoothes the data out. Actually, we just tell a program to find a well-fitting curve using a nifty algorithm developed by these two fellas, but you don't care about that, do you? Turns out the data's not quite normal, just like Caedrel. But instead skewed to the right, just like politics right now. If we assume that this distribution holds for the tail end, even though we have no data for that, we get a chance of 0.008% over 20k occurring in the LEC. For the LPL, it's only a 0.002%, and the LCK has by far the highest probability with 0.179%. And just like that, our first ingredient is already prepared. Now for the second ingredient, Caedrel's viewing behavior. For that, I randomly chose 20 VODs from Caedrel's stream and noted how many games of each league he watched that stream. This was way easier than last time when I gathered data on Caedrel's draft evaluations, because I didn't have to listen to him and try to decide if he likes or dislikes a comp. I found that on an average stream day, Caedrel watches 0.75 games of LPL, 1.4 games of LCK, and a whopping 1.85 games of LEC. Great. With all the ingredients in order, we now only need the recipe. Unfortunately, the recipe is more math. But don't worry, it's easy, it's like baking mixed level math. This is the equation where we basically just have to plug in all the ingredients we already have. For each probability P we have to plug in the odds of a 20k happening in that region, and for each N we just plug in the amount of games that Caedrel watches of that region. And we repeat this for each independent type of event, which in our case is 3 times. And that gives us the following beautiful equation. We got the LPL's odds of a 20k happening in there and the LPL games watched by Caedrel, and the same for LCK and LEC. Oh, and don't mind all the subtracting from 1, that's just a way to make the math easier. Essentially, we're calculating the odds of a 20k not happening for each league, and then in the end we reverse that. That just elegantly avoids a lot of messy math. Now we just plug in the numbers and voila, the results. If you expect a cake now, I'm sorry, the cooking analogy ends at this point. So thanks to this equation we can now plot this beautiful graph with the 20k odds on the y-axis and the streaming days on the x-axis. 0 days watching is obviously a 0% chance, but then the odds climb pretty steeply, until they reach 72% after just 1 streaming year. The curve flattens out quite quickly then, only gaining another 20% over the next streaming year. It takes 3.5 years to reach 99%, and we will never reach 100% because there's always a minimal chance that the 20k will never happen again. This calculation of course assumes that none of the factors that influence the odds of Caedrel witnessing a 20k gold lead change over the next years. But that may not be the case, which brings us to the limitations of this brief study. If, for some reason, Riot buffs shutdown gold or objective bounties within the year, the odds may drop. Alternatively, Caedrel might watch less League because he has become a Minecraft pro. I calculate good odds of that happening based solely on this TikTok clip.
Keep blocking, keep blocking. I'm hardcore in the corner
Keep
here.
blocking,
I'm hardcore.
keep blocking.
Playing a bit aggro here.
Nice!
Oh my god, that was close.
Caedrel!
Oh my god, that was close.
Conversely, a buff to snowballing mechanics like First Strike would make a 20k more likely. Another limitation is that Caedrel disproportionately watches better teams because they make playoffs and are more hyped to watch, and it's not clear how that sampling bias affects the odds. Historically, better regions had lower odds of a 20k happening than weaker regions, but in 2025 this is reversed, so I'm not really sure what to make of that. Similarly, international events might look much different. It's hard to say since the sample size is so small there. But for now that's it. We can only hope for Caedrel that these numbers are accurate. I for one hope that you stuck around until the end and endured the math, and who knows, maybe you even learned a thing or two. Wouldn't that be something?
I don't know, I like counting, chat. I like doing math whenever I have the chance to. Wait, this could be the 20k gold lead game, chat. This could be it. But sometimes if you milk the cow too much, too quick, and you don't do it slowly, you don't get as much. We need more milk.